quite quickly here. As Liesl said, Calvert Impact Capital, we are a nonprofit investment firm. We raise money, and we exist really to invest to make the world more equitable and sustainable. We raise money from both individual and institutional investors. We take that money, we pool it, and we invest it globally in things that have an intentional and measurable social and environmental return, as well as a financial return. We invest debt, and we invest into intermediaries and funds, and we're investing in sectors like, in the US, affordable housing, CDFI, small business, internationally in things like access to finance, access to clean energy, sustainable agriculture. And we're really investing in private markets, and we're investing in these funds and intermediaries that are really either overlooked or underserved by traditional capital markets. And the unique thing really about what we do is really how we raise our capital. So we primarily raise our capital through the sale of a fixed income security called the Community Investment Note. And the unique thing about the security is its reach. So you can purchase a Community Investment Note with as little as $20 online. For a minimum of $1,000, you or your financial advisor can purchase and hold a Community Investment Note in your brokerage account. You can also purchase it directly through Calvert Impact Capital. So we have a real range of investors and an ability to tap a really diverse range of investors and to tap into capital markets. We have individuals with $20, we have institutions with $20 million. And because we have this ability to tap capital markets in a unique way, one of our missions really since we were founded is really to make this ability to do impact investing, the ability to align your investment assets with your values to invest for a social and environmental return along with a financial return, is to bring that mainstream, to make sure that it's not limited to the wealthy or the few. And so it was really this desire to diversify our investor base that led us to experimenting with diaspora investing. And what we did was we didn't create a new product, we didn't create a new fund. We leveraged our existing infrastructure and product to do some targeted marketing to specific diaspora communities. And where we ended up focusing was on India and on Latin America broadly. And this is really where we had two things: substantial amount of portfolio that we could feature to diaspora members, and corresponding diaspora in the US that was large enough, that was wired into the financial system, that was interested in investing. Our product can only be sold to people with a US tax ID and a US bank account. So that is one feature of it. And so I'm actually going to focus on the work that we did with Latino communities, and really to, I think, echo what a lot of people have said here, how important it is to really understand your audience. I think from the comments that we've had so far, you can see that we use the term diaspora to mean a lot of different things, from the migrant populations that Ron's working with, to high net worth investors who are investing into venture funds. It's a really, really diverse group. And when you're trying to get investment capital, it's critical to understand, right, who your audience is, what they're interested in, but also how they manage their money, right? Is that money, is it in a brokerage account at a mainstream financial institution? Is it in a family office? Is it in a savings account? Is it under the mattress? These are all things that are really important to think about in terms of sort of, so you can understand, how people might access your product and what the speed bumps that they'll hit along the way are. And so when we did work focusing more broadly on Latin America, because that's where we had the most portfolio exposure, not really in one particular country or even region, we did some survey work. And what we heard from investors, both anecdotally and from the survey, was very passionate about, sort of investing back in their countries of heritage, but slightly more passionate about investing in Latino communities in the US. And that was something that we had to, sort of pivot our strategy for, to say, okay, now we're going to expand the portfolio. We had that exposure in our portfolio. We work with a lot of organizations that serve Latino communities in the US to make it a broader call to action of sort of empowering Latinos writ large, not just quote unquote back home or in the US. And another thing that we thought about too was, from the survey data and from a lot of other work we did, we knew that the audience most interested in the type of product that we offered in impact investing was really a millennial customer who was comfortable investing online, had some experience with crowdfunding platforms. And so we knew this is who we wanted to target. We also knew that with the Latino community in the US, there are a lot of different issues, involving relationship to the financial sector and banking and investing. And so as we were thinking about what the bumps that people could hit along the way are, one of the things that I think Ron has mentioned is financial investing. it's not something that your average sort of mainstream consumer thinks about, right? Investing can be a pretty intimidating ask for people, and an intimidating call to action. So what we did with this broader, with the Latino campaign was partner with 2 other organizations who had a similar mission to engage Latinos to use their financial assets to do good, basically. And that was Latino Community Credit Union and Kiva. And so we went out, instead of saying, you know, invest in our product, we went out under a broader campaign that was called Be Parte de la Solution. And forgive me, I've never taken a Spanish class in my life, so if anyone speaks Spanish, I'm sure that was painful. But that was, this is the broader campaign that we used to really reach out to the demographic that we were looking for, that uses Spanglish, that operates in both languages. And that, you know, if we go out and say invest and someone's not interested in investing, maybe they've never done it, maybe they're already satisfied, and they're not interested, then you kind of lose them. But if you go out with different options for people to participate in, it's a way to keep them engaged. So if you don't have a bank account, you can't invest, right? So if you don't have a bank account, here's Latino Community Credit Union. Or if you're already managing your financial assets in a way you're satisfied with, maybe think about moving your savings account. If you want to try and experiment with something more direct, think about Kiva, right? So it was a way to really leverage each other's networks too. This was a totally new population for us to reach out to. And so being able to leverage the networks that other organizations had was quite helpful. And because we went out as part of a bigger campaign, we were able to gain partners like Univision, who really liked the idea of the campaign, who could push it out as a message in a way that they couldn't get behind a particular product to promote, but they could get behind the message of engaging Latinos to use their finances for good. So I think you know, it's really important to think about what existing infrastructure there is and how you can leverage it and how you can really partner effectively with people to accomplish your goals.
Thank you, Leigh. So we've moved from the very broad down to a very narrow sort of case study. Just as the last question to kind of throw out to the entire panel, this area, this space has been evolving for quite some time. Kind of looking across the history, what are some of the beacons of hope, the shining examples that you think are out there in the diaspora investment space that gives us some hope for the future?
It's that I think there are models in place. So it depends on the context. You have to assess who are the stakeholders, who are the players. For instance, if you have impact investors in one given country, you have to know your diaspora. So we also have tools to better assess how we can make a good match between diaspora willingness to invest, different segments also of diaspora that are present in one given country, and the strategy of impact investors. I think it's better to build on what is existing at the supply side, working with existing crowdfunding platform, regulated impact investment fund, and to improve the knowledge of the diaspora, where they are, what they want. If we talk about diaspora investment, I think it's like Ron has pointed out, I think it's important also to understand the need of the families, and there's a lot of savings and some investment need that has to be covered. So I think the knowledge is increasing. We need more. We need to better understand what people need and to segment the different category of diaspora and of remittance families at the receiving end, and make a good combination of what is existing.
Am I on here? Okay. Let me take it to a person, to an individual that is kind of an example of the kind of enthusiasm that a diaspora, and this is entrepreneurship, it's also investment. I'll challenge you to Google the name, the company called Mr. Fruto, and the entrepreneur's name is Tahir Adani. And Tahir has been covered by a number of investment magazines in Africa. And he came to me when I'd hosted in Nairobi the Somali Diaspora Investor Forum, and he said, I want to open up a fruit smoothie business in Mogadishu. And I thought, you gotta be kidding me. Because we're looking at these different portfolios that are fisheries or agriculture or livestock and what have you. And I kind of put him off a little bit because I thought, oh gosh, and he was persistent and persistent. He finally came back. He was a diaspora that was living in just outside of DC. And he said, no, I really want to go back and open up a fruit smoothie business. So we finally ended up looking at his plan, and we gave him the investment. He went back and opened up that business. And not many of you probably know Mogadishu, but there's a popular street called the Makamukarama, which is more known for the numbers of things, the incidents that happen there that are not so good. I mean, there are bombings there and things like that. But you also have this fruit smoothie stand that has become the place to go. And he's now procuring local fruits that were kind of fallen out of favor and reintroducing them to the youth. And then he came back and did a second loan and opened up 2 other stands, and has been a really interesting kind of a call back to diaspora to come back to the country and get involved. Now, of course, there are many others as well besides that, but that's one that you can Google and look at and listen to, and it kind of spurs on that excitement.
Any other comment? Well, food stands reminds me that it's really close to lunch. So what I suggest is, since we are all going to be at lunch together, and since we are running very late on time, my suggestion is that we take any questions that we have out to lunch. Our panelists and I will all be out there. And I want to thank the audience very much and thank this panel.